Well, welcome everybody. I'm Kristen, and basically I'm just going to talk about getting creative with codeSpark, and I have some items to share. And I've been using codeSpark for 4 or 5 years, and since the beginning I love it. It is definitely one of my favorite coding apps for all age students, especially my younger students. Just really love the characters. They're called the Foos, and just really have a great time. So let's get started.
Kids will encounter fun challenges as they help the Foos find lost items, take care of pets, feed hungry diners, and sort candy. There are over 1,000 activities to keep your kids engaged, and new challenges are added every month. Every activity teaches your child a fundamental coding concept. Coding skills will help your kids now with math and reading, and will even prepare them to succeed in our tech-driven future. Kids will learn how to approach problems using logic, discovering creative ways to solve a problem, and even build confidence testing new ideas. Watch their faces light up after finally squashing a code bug. Now they're ready to create. Your kids can bring their ideas to life as they design, build, and code interactive stories and games. This is where older and more advanced kid coders thrive with unlimited coding opportunities. And after creating their masterpiece, kids can't wait to play with their closest friends, swap projects with siblings, or share stories with their parents. They can even safely share their game and inspire millions of other kid coders. Continue learning on the go. Track progress. Anytime, any place, on any device. There are no ads and no in-game purchases. Join over 20 million kid coders on codeSpark Academy, the award-winning app recommended by parents.
All right, so that's just a little overview of the whole entire codeSpark and everything that it offers. And there is a lot in there. And just for today, since it is the first day of the Hour of Code, happy Hour of Code, everybody. So I am super excited. A little bit about me, I am an instructional technology specialist, and I was in a iPad lab and taught 1,100 students. All of them, we would do the Hour of Code, and for the first several years, I would do all different activities, but always codeSpark was what we would come back to. My kindergarten through 5th grade students, this was by far their favorite coding activity. And every year as codeSpark would add in new items, it was just really exciting for the students to be able to just use these items and start creating and just having fun with coding. So if you're looking at, if you want to get out a device, the one thing I love about codeSpark is that it is cross-device friendly. So if you want to kind of follow along on your device, I'm going to just walk you through step by step some of the areas and some of the things that my students would create. So if you're looking at the codeSpark app, most of my visuals are from the codeSpark app because that's the one that I used primarily. But again, like I said before, it's cross-device friendly. So I'm just going to walk through just the Hour of Code down there in the left-hand side. If you want to click on that, it's going to take you in. My students always enjoyed signing in and being able to pick a foo of themselves and then being able to pick a little fun name. So that was always exciting. I would limit that though if you are teaching, especially younger students. I would always give them a little timer to pick their name, because if not, that could take up your whole class time choosing of the name. So when you go in, I would always start my students, you can kind of see there's a lot of different choices here. I would walk my students through using the puzzles, which is on the far left. And when you tap on the puzzles, it's going to take you in. I've got a little video to kind of help explain how the code, how the Foos work. And this is what it looks like. So it starts off in the first area, the donut detective, and this is sequencing. And I love, again, the characters inside of the CodeSpark Academy app, and just the kids would really enjoy watching the characters. And then when they were understanding that they have to tell the characters what to do in order to get them to move, they always enjoyed watching Glitch up there in the far right, and then you've got your police officer Foo. And when they go in, they start on level 1 and they work their way around, and it just goes systematically step by step. I am teaching the kids how sequencing works, and I love that every time the students would get it correct, the Foo would do a little happy dance, and that was always fun and exciting for my students. They love the happy dance part. So if you're looking at one of these screens, they are very similar in that they've always got your Foo character, and then down in the lower section, the yellow, is where you have your coding blocks to choose from, your commands. And then you drag them up to the orange tray, which is the coding tray, and that's where you are giving your Foo the directions of what you want them to do. And so you're coding the character. And then as you get further and further into the program, it's basically teaching them more and different blocks and how to add those together. So again, a teacher, when I first started, I did not know much about coding, and I honestly would just tell the students, hey guys, we're all going to learn together and we're going to walk through this, so let's just all, share with each other and talk about it and collaborate together. So that took a little pressure off of myself as well. I do know a lot more about coding now, but 5 years ago I did not. So this made it much easier for me as the teacher to really, the kids enjoyed seeing me learning how to code while they were also learning how to code. So that's just a really quick overview of what it basically looks like. After sequencing, they go into learning about loops, and they are learning about just what that entails. And this is still in the puzzles section. We've got the advanced sequencing area. We have events, and then conditionals. So all of this is just step by step teaching the students how to code. Then if I go back to the original main menu, I would always have my students move on from puzzles over to the explore side. This isn't at all how it has to be done. This is just how I kind of worked my kids into using the Foos app. So under this section, you have automation. So again, they're just teaching them the different areas of learning how to code. Variables and inequalities, stacks and queues, and then you've got logic. So just again, the students really enjoy playing the game of the Foos, but actually learning how to code at the same time. So it's just a wonderful concept. Then my favorite part was when we would go into the middle section, which is the create section. You can also get to creating stories with code down in the bottom. And I'm just going to go through the create section and talk a little bit about what each side does. And it's definitely important for students to show what they know. And when they are able to create a game or a tutorial to help another student learning how to code, or if they can create a story, both of those are super important in the fact that if a student can create something to show what they know, then they really do have the deepest levels of learning and understanding. So that is important. So let's just look at this creation side. Under creating the games, this is what it walks the students through, again, step by step, systematically, how to create a coding game of their own for another student to use and practice. And we always did something that we did in my room was that we always talked about, okay, so let's make sure that when you are creating the game, get a friend to work with you and make sure that they beta test for you so that you will, they can give you some feedback. And we always did 2 compliments and a wish. So they would tell them things that they liked about the game that they created. But then they would also have a chance to tell them politely, I wish that you would have added, and then I would love hearing the conversations around the room where the students would say, you know, you did, you created this game, but sometimes it was a little too hard for me. And so them understanding that they had to make it challenging, but not too hard where another student could never move past a certain level. So that was great to hear those conversations. So here's a video just explaining a little bit about the creation side and creating a game.
Hey, I'm Bo, and welcome to Foos Studio, the foodtastic place where you can build anything. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a really cool soccer game. You'll need to finish Chapter 5 of the Foos first, because we're going to use the loop, bump event, listen event, and the shout, hide, and play sound commands. Okay, so first, let's build the arena. We'll use the green block for the grass. Makes sense, grass is green. Now we don't have to go all the way to the edges of the level space. That would make the game a little too difficult. So let's make it about 1 screen wide. Next, we'll make 2 goals. I'm going to use white blocks for the first goal. And I'm just going to shrink 1 block and then copy and move it to make the goal. This is way easier than putting up new blocks, shrinking them, moving them over and over and over and over and over. Okay. We'll be putting a different code on each goal, so we'll need the second goal to be a different type of block. So let's make the second goal a different color. Let's use black. Whenever you click on an item, you can resize, delete, move, or copy it. It's a nice shortcut. For now, I'm going to move the star out of the way. Now for the teams, let's make this a 2-on-2 game. Ninja Foos team will have her pet octopus as the goalie. I hear it's pretty good. A lot of arms. I think that's a good idea. They'll be against a pair of glitches, and we'll make their goalie a little bit.
So I'm going to pause that one right now just for the sake of time, but I think you probably get the idea that, I mean, after the students have walked through those different areas, they really are having a great understanding of how to then build their own program, and they just loved getting to this area inside the app. So if I go back to the menu under the Create section, there's also the newest area, and the one that I am super excited about. I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier, another reason that I love coding with codeSpark Academy is that there's no reading involved. So that is super exciting for my younger students, that they don't have to know how to read, or if they are just learning English. Again, all of it is just pictures, and then little fingers will point to things that they need to do if they don't start working through the program. So that is exciting as well. So if I go over to the Create Story on the right, this is the newest area, and I've got another little short tutorial video just to explain it a little bit faster.
You can code your own stories with codeSpark. Add characters, backgrounds, and props. Record voices for your characters. Prepare for your doom. Give them feelings. What have you done? Make them walk, eat, and more. Attack. Pet. Ooh, yummy. Nom 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 nom. When you're done, show your story to a friend. Available as a free update for codeSpark Academy members.
All right, so if you're looking at the Create Story area, you have some choices down there, the 3 bears, Red Riding Hood, Fox, and Crow, and students can just select one. And I have selected Red Riding Hood, and if you see the pencil over there, when you click on the pencil, it's going to bring up some other tools and different things. You can make the characters move, you can add in different items into your scene, you can have them duplicate. So there's a lot of choice. You can even change what the scenery looks like. So the students, again, have a great time just setting up the scene the way that they want it, and then adding, either you can add in voice recordings for your story, you can add in little speech bubbles. And it was interesting, again, once my students would be working on this, we would share them either at the end of class, maybe just a few, or the next class we might share a few at the beginning, a few at the end. And just, it was interesting to see, you know, were they using the speech bubbles, were they using the voice recording, and just how excited they were to tell either their story or a story that they have made up. And this is a really great area and way to practice this concept. To me, it's like a really awesome hook to get kids into their learning, and using it with such a fun platform like codeSpark Academy is just icing on the cake. So the students, I mean, pretty much every day they were like, are we going to use codeSpark today? Are we going to use the Foos today? So that's always a great thing to have students say when they walk into your classroom. So my last slide is just about the teacher dashboard. And this I would highly recommend if you are thinking about using codeSpark Academy. Again, during the hour of code, you don't have to make a classroom or a login, but I would suggest it. I know that your students are going to love using this on their desktop, their laptop, on their iPads. So if you're thinking that it might be something you want to do for the rest of the year, it would be in your benefit and the students' benefit to go ahead and add in your class. It's really not hard. So I do have another little video just to show you how that works. It sounds harder than it is, which is why I decided to add a video, because a lot of teachers, when I talk to them about this, they think, oh, I don't want to do that, it's too many steps. But this way you can track your students' progress. It will save their progress. So if they're going in and out of different areas of the Foos or of codeSpark Academy, then they can pick up right where they left off and not have to restart every single time. So let's just look at this for one quick second.
Welcome to the codeSpark Academy Teacher Dashboard. First, we're going to sign in. Log in with Clever. Or sign in using your email and password. Great. Now we'll show you how to create a classroom and add students. This is your dashboard where you can manage your classroom and students. You can also access free resources like lesson plans, unplugged activities, and solution guides. You can also find out more about our professional development and teacher ambassador programs through the dashboard. Let's create a classroom. Enter your classroom name. You will be able to create as many classrooms as you want. Then, select the grades of your students. If you have additional teachers who manage your classroom, enter their email addresses. They will get an email asking them to create a teacher dashboard account. We're going to add some students to this classroom. You can import a CSV file or copy and paste a list of student names. You can even send an email to parents to let them know that students will be learning to code this year. Just make sure to include parent email addresses if you select this option. Click Create, and you're done. Let's set up your devices with the classroom code. Click Go to Classroom. Then click on Connect Devices. Lastly, click on Generate Code. You'll see a 5-letter code for you to type into your device. Note that this code is valid for only 2 hours. If your code expires, you can generate a new one by clicking Generate Code again. Now, let's use the code to set up your classroom on your device. Launch codeSpark Academy on your device. Press the Schools button in the top left corner. Next, press Students. Press Use Classroom Code. Type in your code, and you're all set. We hope you enjoyed this Getting Started tutorial. If you have any questions, you can always email us at support@codespark.com. Have a foo-tastic day.
All right, so hopefully that is a quick overview of pretty much most of the areas inside of codeSpark Academy. Again, I would highly encourage you to go ahead and just set up your class. I really felt like it was worth the extra few minutes to do that. I usually did mine just all at one time, one morning before the students would arrive, and I really felt like it was helpful. And then once the students got used to finding their name and just tapping on it, it really was very, very easy. And I felt like for me, I could also give a little bit more feedback to them, to their homeroom teachers, and it helped me with trying to make sure that I was covering like my ISTE standards and different things, because I had some tracking that I could look at and view. And also it helped me to know who might need a little extra assistance from me as they work through the program. So Laura, I think that's all I have, but if there's any questions or comments, I'm happy to help. One thing I'll mention while we're waiting to see if there's any questions is another thing I mentioned earlier is that I taught 1,100 to 1,200 students. So there is no limit on your classes or your class size. So if you are a specials teacher like I was, you can go ahead and set this up for everybody that you work with without any problems. So that's another bonus to CodeSpark Academy.
That's definitely a common question that we get. So thank you for confirming that. Yes, there are unlimited classrooms and number of students that you can create for your profile.
Hi, Kristen. This is Leo. Can you hear me?
Can.
Okay, so nice to meet you. I have two questions for you. One is, I noticed that some of our students become so loved about CodeSpark that they buy individual license, and this is good for CodeSpark. But they use it at home. Then at the next class, when we present an exercise, they say, I already did it. So how to deal with the students that buy individual license and do the exercise at home?
Yes, I would have that as well. And it actually usually warmed my heart when a student would say that they liked something we did at school so much that they went home and asked their parents if they would purchase it for them. So I was always really excited when they would say that. And I would usually say to the student, oh my goodness, I am so excited to hear that. And that means that you are an expert in this area. So go ahead and stand up, make sure everybody can get a good look at you. And then friends, if you have questions while you're working through it, here is another expert in the room, that you can go to and get help. And then whenever I would go over what we were doing, I would make sure to pull my little expert over to the side and kind of remind them, like, when you are, an expert in a certain area, that you show people how to work on it, as in like using your words to show them and let them do the tapping on their iPad or using the mouse, because that would be my number one thing, is that if I didn't mention that to my expert, then they would take the iPad and do it for them. And that really wasn't exactly what I was hoping for. So usually it really turned out to be awesome, because sometimes I would have up to 3 friends that might be an expert for that day. And it really gave them a sense of, oh, wow, I can help teach the other friends in the class. And they would usually get more questions than I would. So I hope that could be something you could, maybe a strategy you could use in your class.
Okay, great, fantastic. And the other question is, there is a way to export this story so the children can take their stories as a movie and show to their parents at the end of the class?
If you're using an iPad, one thing I just thought of and it just came to my mind, Laura, wouldn't it work if they wanted to just do a screen recording?
Yes, that's
and then they could share that.
Yes. You can also do a screen capture. So if a student has completed a story, you can do a screen recording or screen capture to record that and then eventually share that out as well.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you for your really great questions, Leo. Any other questions from the crowd? Alrighty then, I think we can call it a day. Thank you so much, Kristen. This was a wonderful webinar, and it was chock full of wonderful, lovely resources and information. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I had a great time. Thank you, everybody, for taking time to join us today. And we are ending right on time at 4:30. So thanks again for your time and just being a part of this event.
Awesome. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.